Good day from Israel on a historic day in the Middle East, as all 20 of the surviving Israeli hostages have now been freed after 738 days in captivity. The Israeli military says a second group of 13 remaining hostages has just arrived back here in Israel. That follows the 7 Israeli hostages released earlier today. And in the next hour, President Trump will give a speech to the Israeli Knesset in Jerusalem, their parliament, as part of his trip to formalize the first phase of the peace deal he brokered between Israel and Hamas. Following those remarks, the president will head to Egypt for a ceremony with world leaders to formalize that peace deal. And we've got a bit of developing news over the past few hours. We're now learning Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas will be at that summit as well. That, according to a spokesperson for Egypt's president. Just behind me, this is Hostage Square, an area that Israelis have come to for 2 years to remember those that were taken hostage. Today, it has been a place of joyous celebrations, loud cheers, people erupting in applause at images of those hostages being released, but also some tears. It's been an incredibly emotional 2 years for so many, including the family members who had to see their loved ones suffer, and in some cases, those Israelis who did not get their loved ones back. It is, as we said, a historic day here in Israel. Richard Engel is part of our team here in Tel Aviv that has been covering all the developments. Richard, we've been here since the get-go. October 7th, when that terror attack happened, 1,200 Israelis losing their lives in that surprise attack. It led to that very brutal and long war inside of Gaza. 67,000 Palestinians, at least 67,000 dead. There is starvation in Gaza right now. Gaza completely decimated. We're starting to see some of those aid trucks flow in today. And now the hostages have been released, the first phase. But it's the next couple of phases that are going to be very tricky here.
Well, this is an incredibly historic day. You and I were just here a few moments ago when helicopters believed to be carrying the hostages themselves flew overhead. The crowds here all looked up, started taking photographs, waving at the helicopters. The hospital that is going to be receiving them is just a few minutes away. Yes, the political steps, very challenging, very uncertain still, but also part of this deal, Israel must free Palestinian prisoners, and already several busloads carrying prisoners have been seen coming out of Israeli jails. So this deal so far has gone smoothly. The Hamas had until noon local time to get all the hostages out, and they did it just before noon on schedule.
It's been an incredible reception of President Trump as well. When you land in Tel Aviv now, you see billboards thanking President Trump. His name, we've been out here for hours, Richard. His name has been mentioned dozens of times, and every time they mention his name, the crowd erupts in applause. They have not mentioned the prime minister here, but you hear Trump's name and people start cheering. People are wearing the MAGA hats. He's going to address the Knesset in just a little while, and really he's going to announce to the world the hostages have been released. They are alive. They are back in Israel.
President Trump came for this moment. We've been talking over the last several days how this might play out, and this was the key moment. President Trump wanted to be here at the time when the hostages came out. And you never know how this is going to play out. Maybe there would be a last-minute snag. It didn't happen. President Trump landed just a short while ago. He's at the Knesset. He's about to address the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, and he's going to make this announcement. They're all out. And he's going to get a standing ovation. Those introductions are already happening. He's also been meeting with some of the hostage families at the Knesset. But yes, this was the moment that President Trump came to Israel for, and which he is about to receive.
Yeah.
The moment when he gets to announce to Israel and to the world that all the living hostages came out, and so far all appear to be in good health.
Richard, stand by for us. I do want to go to our chief White House correspondent, Peter Alexander, who's joining our team here in Israel. He's reporting live from Jerusalem. Peter, I know we've already gotten some excerpts of the president's speech, and he's going to talk about what he wrote in that book there at the Knesset in the Israeli parliament, A New Beginning. There were moments and mentions of peace, talking about turning the page in this war. And though that's going to be very complicated, Peter, at least the message President Trump is sending to the world is that peace has begun.
I think that's exactly right, Tom. We do expect to hear from the president only a short time from now, and already crowds had gathered over the course of the last several hours here outside the Knesset, many of them even Israelis wearing those Make America Great Again hats to help celebrate his arrival here. In those excerpts provided to NBC News by a White House official, we're told the president will declare, he will say, this is the historic dawn of a new Middle East. He will describe this not just as a triumph for Israel, but also for the world, that we have the Israelis and the Arabs working together as partners for peace. And as he reflects on what happened just over 2 years ago on October 7th, the president will use words that have become very familiar to the Jewish community, the Jewish diaspora around the world following the Holocaust during World War II. Never again and never forget. Those words obviously so poignant for so many. The president is made it very clear that he wants to make sure that there is never another situation like that, which we have seen today, and even offers the potential for friendship with Iran in this moment. As you listen to the president, he will be welcomed by, among others, the Israeli president. That here was a ceremonial position. The president, though, of Israel will declare that President Trump will be awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, a Medal of Honor, as it's described here. That is the highest state honor in this country. That will be provided to him, awarded to him formally on another occasion. And later today, we are told by the Egyptians that President Trump will receive from that country their highest state honor, which is known as the Nile Necklace. As we speak about Egypt, you were talking about the fact, the breaking news, the developing story that both Bibi Netanyahu and the Palestinian Authority head Abu Mazen Mahmoud Abbas will be traveling to Egypt today, to Sharm el-Sheikh, for that leadership summit, that peace ceremony. A White House official is detailing to me some of the behind-the-scenes details that led to this moment. They say that President Trump, in his one-on-one meeting today with Benjamin Netanyahu, was able to convene a call, to broker a call between Netanyahu and the president of Egypt, President Sisi. And it was during that call that Sisi formally invited Netanyahu to come to Egypt today. There was no decision made immediately. Netanyahu considered it, and now we have heard formally from the Egyptians that Netanyahu will make that historic trip, traveling down to Sharm el-Sheikh, the Red Sea resort town in Egypt, for the ceremony to take place, with now more than 20 world leaders expected there. As you pull back the curtain on this moment, some of the words have been particularly poignant, including those of the American ambassador to Israel, of course, that is the former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, who said, among other things, as the first hostages were released, he said, "A moment like this is a moment like the moon landing, Tom, where time stands still." Back to you.
Yeah. Peter Alexander for us. Peter, stand by as well, as we're awaiting President Trump to address the Israeli parliament at any moment. I want to go to Egypt right now. Keir Simmons is reporting live there for us. Keir, the stakes of this summit just changed dramatically today, with word that both the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Mahmoud Abbas on the Palestinian side, from the Palestinian Authority, will head to Egypt and will be present for this ceremony. Talk to us about how it changes the dynamics there for what's going to happen in Egypt later today.
Well, you know, Tom, if the beginning of a new era in the Middle East that Peter Alexander was talking about there from President Trump, from the words of President Trump, is really to get underway. It will get underway here in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, just a few steps away from where I am now, where this peace summit will take place. We're underneath the flight path here, Tom. You can hear another jet. That's a Turkish jet just flying in, and very likely Air Force One with President Trump, maybe Prime Minister Netanyahu too with him, will fly over us as he arrives here for this summit, which he has orchestrated, frankly, implementing all of the power of the presidency to get these leaders together. And you ask about the two leaders who are now in the spotlight, who will be in the spotlight here. Prime Minister Netanyahu and Mahmoud Abbas, the Palestinian Authority president. Abbas is already here. Prime Minister Netanyahu, we wait for him, of course. He's right now in the Knesset there with President Trump. It raises the stunning question about whether those two men might even come face to face. I mentioned that President Trump has orchestrated this. Other leaders here, the Prime Minister of the UK, Keir Starmer, the President of France, Emmanuel Macron, are both on the ground here already, both pledging support for a new Gaza, more money and political support. President Macron saying words to the effect that I will be with you, President Trump, through this whole process. Now, that's not to underestimate, Tom, how difficult a process it is going to be. Many of the points from President Trump's 20-point plan are going to be astonishingly difficult to achieve. Getting Hamas to walk away from the political process, getting Hamas to disarm, implementing a temporary, transitory governance for the Gaza Strip, which, as Peter suggested, may mean that you actually need boots on the ground from neighboring countries. That hasn't been talked about. But how do you administer Gaza in the state it is currently in without kinetic assistance from countries, from the kinds of countries that are gathering here? All of those are questions that are yet to be addressed, yet to be answered. But I think what you will find here when President Trump gets here is a sense that the President of the United States has made this happen, and it is the President of the United States who has the political momentum to see this through. And the leaders, I think, gathering here recognize that and are here to, in an attempt to be part of it, of course, but also in an attempt to support that very ambitious aim. Tom?
Yeah. Kieran, and as you were reporting, we just got a bit of news that is quite important. We've just learned that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will actually not attend the summit now in Egypt. His office apparently putting out a statement saying that the Prime Minister, who we had understood was going to attend the summit, now will no longer attend. Again, this is a very fluid situation. It speaks to how complicated the situation is right now. 3 phases of this peace deal. The hostages are out. The Palestinian prisoners have been released. President Trump is here. He will head to Egypt. But there are still some very, very complicated matters that need to be hashed out, including who is going to be in charge of Gaza. What happens to Hamas? Do the Israeli soldiers pull out completely from Gaza? All of these are questions that still have to be answered. We're going to send it back to our stations in the U.S. right now. We'll be back with you in just a few moments when President Trump addresses the Knesset for the first time. But for now, this concludes this historic NBC News special report. We're going to have much more ahead on your local NBC station, our streaming network, NBC News Now, online at NBCNews.com, and a full wrap-up this morning on Today. I'm Tom Yamas reporting from Tel Aviv. We thank you for watching.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.